Salutations, dear viewers, you're on with Nexon of the Vast Nexus, and welcome back to another Fortnite video, this being my second solo win of Chapter 2, Season 4. The name is getting to be a bit of a mouthful. Now, I've stated already that most of my solo wins are not wrought of grind, or the result of any real attempt for it. It's usually I drop in to accomplish something wholly different and bumble my way into a solo win. This time is no different. I was landing to complete a daily challenge, namely to eliminate Stark drones, and given that a Quinjet just happened to land nearby the Friendship Monument, whatever it is, to get Groot's emote, I figured I could get two things done in one match, which, if I have challenges on the brain, is usually what I'm trying to do. Get as much done as possible in as little time as possible. Now, the thing is, this match is important for other reasons, and don't mind me if I sort of interrupt this, long speech that's going on in order to point out play-by-plays that can and indeed will happen. But the thing is, I've noticed, first of all, that skill-based matchmaking at least seems to have been fixed. There are rumors that skill-based matchmaking has been removed altogether for all of it, but there has been no direct confirmation from Epic, so all of that's just conjecture at this point. I've noticed that there is perhaps some validity to that, but I've encountered players in solo matches that are typically more to my skill level compared to what I used to encounter. I'm not encountering, millisecond editing, people who have one bullet whiz past their head and then they throw up the Burj Khalifa. That was a blatant lucky headshot. So, and I won this match primarily because the final players at the end of the match were of a similar skill level to myself, which, if you're going to do skill-based matchmaking, that is what you want. You want players who are like you, as opposed to in a whole other god tier on their own. Now, I have, however, run into matches where, naturally, not everybody's going to be the exact skill level. It all depends on how refined the algorithm is. But I have run into matches where I run into sweaty-er players, but not to the extent that I used to. So, I don't know. Maybe they just rebalanced skill-based matchmaking, now it works, thanks for that, Epic. Or maybe they just got rid of skill-based matchmaking and went back to random, in which case, also, thanks, Epic, for actually paying attention to the community. The second thing is, and this is perhaps the longer tangent that's going to take up the lion's share of this video, I play on PC. It's not a stellar piece of hardware, but it gets the job done, and then some. At least I like to think. At time of recording, my computer's being a little sketch. Fan problems. I'm not going to bother all of you with that. However, I started on mouse and keyboard because I'm on PC. It made sense. But I was playing with a lot of console players who argued the reason I was doing better than they were, despite the fact that, and we're talking Chapter 2 Season 1 here, the first season I played Fortnite, they were complaining that the reason I was doing so much better than they were, and they were comparing my skill compared to how long they've been playing, was because I was running mouse and keyboard and they were running controller, and that somehow offered me some kind of advantage. Whatever happened to when they complained about the controller offering an unfair advantage due to aim assist? Now, because I'm running mouse and keyboard, I have some fundamental edge on those who don't. Although, now, back then I wouldn't say that was true, but now they have a point, and I'm getting to that. So, in a notion of pride, to be honest, it was probably purely pride, I want to demonstrate the fact that, look, this is my skill. It's not the hardware that's, giving me what I'm going for here. So I used controller. And here's the thing with my sort of history in gaming. I have been running consoles longer than I have been running PC, and a controller feels more natural to me than mouse and keyboard. So when I went for controller, I sort of picked it up immediately, much quicker than I did with mouse and keyboard, and my original mouse and keyboard setup was the default setup, which, as anybody who knows Fortnite will tell you, you need to change immediately. Luckily, my mouse has some extra functions. It's not just buttons. It would take a long time to explain, but I was able to map most of my builds to the mouse so I could get to them easier. It worked. But when I transitioned to controller, I stuck there. And I have been there through Chapter 2 Season 2 and Chapter 2 Season 3 and into the start of this season. However, every subsequent season that I have played Fortnite, I have noticed that the controller seems to get buggier and buggier. Laggy inputs, aim assist that is all over the place. It's too strong. It's too weak. I mean, I disabled it altogether at one point, but it is true that trying to track a target, especially up close, where you need that speed of your reticle, is impossible if you don't have it equipped, because you could up your sensitivity, but then making subtle inputs on a target at distance becomes impossible as well. Now, I got frustrated with a thing that has been happening this season, and perhaps my viewership will be familiar with: circle strafing. Your opponent, not just jumping, not the usual pop-tarty garbage that I absolutely despise. You know, I mean, people will wag a finger that, oh, he's a hypocrite, look at him hopping right now. It's like, well, I hop occasionally, especially when I'm out in the open, because I don't want to get sniped. But, like, in a close fight, they're just boing, 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 and it's like, how rehearsed are these people that they can jump as often as is possible without incurring a jump fatigue penalty? So you just know that every second they're just hop, hop, hop. But this season something new emerged, something that wasn't as much of a problem in seasons previously, at least not that I've noticed. Circle strafing. Enemies get right up on you, and then they start running around you in a circle. And if you're running controller and you're trying to turn to meet them, in seasons previously, perhaps on account of the aim assist, it would work. You could actually sort of get your reticle on them while they were running around you. This season, no way in hell. If your opponent is right on you and they're running around you in a circle and you're running analog stick, you cannot get that reticle on them. You can pull the old, like, whip it around the other side as they go around your opposite shoulder gag, but usually by the time you've done that, they've either hopped over you or done some other maneuvering trick, which is absolutely infuriating. So that happened one too many times. I was like, you know what? I'm done. It's clear that most people point out that the controls of Fortnite, which are... they're not a difficult issue if you have the time to sort of, I want to build this, I want to equip that, etc., etc., but the speed with which things happen in this game, and the speed to which it has been tuned to function in Battle Royale, you don't have time to think, much less react. It has to be second nature and instinctive, and having everything slave to its own button instead of having to toggle controller modes from build and combat, or do stuff like that, definitely offers an advantage. And the mouse aim. I have noticed my precision has suffered somewhat. My mouse is on kind of a flimsy wooden tray that tends to wobble. That's likely a culprit. And I'm not working with some god-tier liftoff detection super mouse. However, keeping track of those targets that start circle strafing you is now much, much simpler. Unfortunately, the circle strafing has recently bred a horrible demon child with the pop-tarting, resulting in something that is Castlevania Medusa head levels of infuriating, which makes your targets impossible to hit. Now, recently I've also been having lag issues that I could be on my end. I'm not discounting the possibility, but, I mean, it could also be the fact that in the past 2 seasons, Fortnite's player base kind of shrank a little bit. Maybe somebody decided to save some money by reducing the number of available servers or so forth, and now with the Marvel thing, Fortnite has exploded once again. I stated as much in my first solo win of this season, and they may be a little overloaded. Just saying. So I was running controller, and I decided when I just had enough of that frustration, of this new maneuvering meta that has just popped up in the game. So I was like, you know what? I'm going back to mouse and keyboard. Because I can track my targets more effectively if I actually get good at the key combinations for builds, which I have to point out requires pianist levels of finger dexterity and precision, I could probably do better. And the reason I went on this very long tangent for this match is because while it's certainly not my first match on mouse and keyboard, this is my first match on mouse and keyboard probably in almost a year. And when I was first running mouse and keyboard, I was a newbie to this game. I'm not that anymore. I do not proclaim myself to be competitive skill tier level. God, no. But I know what I'm doing now in Fortnite more so than I did back then. And one of the issues I came across is this notion that, well, okay, so it's clear to everyone who's tried default mouse and keyboard that it's not stellar. You need to rebind those keys. Like I said, anybody who knows Fortnite knows that on mouse and keyboard, those keys need to be rebound stat. However, like most people with the brain to realize that, wow, it's, 2020 or whatever year it was, probably for the past 5 years, Google exists, the internet exists. Rather than just, flailing around blindly in the dark, let's actually find out if somebody has posted that they had the same problem and found a solution, and let's, be a human community and share that information. So I checked, and the issue that cropped up was that, of course, you're going to go for the players who play competitively or like Twitch streamers, because these guys, you figure, they're doing this professionally. They have to know what they're doing. So what's their keybinds? Trouble is, pretty much all of them have different keybinds. At one point or another, you will find some point of difference. And I sort of went over a bunch of them and realized that, okay, well, different players prioritize different things, especially the competitive ones. Pro builders will prioritize build options over combat options. Better shooters will prioritize weapon usage. And I sort of came to the conclusion that, okay, you want your builds as tight on your directional keys as possible so that your finger has the least amount of time to travel to hit them. Now, I have that for my wall and ramp because those are probably the builds of defensive import. They can both be put up in front of you to block shots. And I have my 2 extra mouse buttons assigned to floors and ceilings. And no, I'm not going to call it a pyramid. It's a ceiling, for the love of God. Now, this match, I ended up having to use builds, and while it may be my first solo match using mouse and keyboard in almost a year, it by far is not the first match I played on the game. So I don't want to point out the fact that, oh wow, he adapted quickly. No, there have been Team Rumble matches, a few, although I still went back to controller because I just started getting frustrating with, I don't have the muscle memory for this, I don't have the reflexes for it, I feel so slow. And I ran some creative, I practiced, and in the end it just turned into this situation where I quite literally had to learn how to play all over again. That being said, if you are running controller on computer for some reason, or if you're thinking about making the transition from console to PC, definitely run mouse and keyboard. In general, that should be what you should try to do. But if you're going to, think about running controller for some reason, maybe you just feel more comfortable with that, or you prefer it, wait until they fix whatever in the hell they've broken with the controller modifications. Like, the aim assist is too sensitive at times, and then it's not sensitive enough in others, and the fact that this new maneuvering strategy, the whole bunny hop, circle strafe, nightmare demon child, indicates that people are aware that these controller players cannot track them up close, laterally or vertically, and they are exploiting it maliciously. And I want to make a plug here that I have the tiniest suspicion that that whole meta that I would actually use in this round, because I am running mouse and keyboard here, so I can actually jump and track my targets much more smoothly, may have been what cost my opponent the match, because they were probably running controller, and it quite literally killed them. And you can make the statement, if you want, that, well, Now you're making it sound like the PC players are always going to have an inherent advantage. If you don't know that already, that sort of is the truth. With the new engine switch, console players have been complaining to no end that older hardware, just can't render it at the same frame rate or at the same level of detail. And even older computers are struggling now. Like, the new engine is fantastic from a technical standpoint, but from memory usage to processing power drain, it is not, there's perhaps a compromise to be made somewhere between there, and it's not being made anymore. Fortnite is just opting on the higher end of things because, well, I suppose the creators can do what they want. So we're coming to the closing movements of this battle. I apologize, but there won't be any fancy intercuts here like there were last video. I would like to point out something with the superpowers. As soon as they were introduced, people started complaining about how overpowered they were, and they weren't wrong. However, that's another source of my victory here. Dr. Doom's arcane gauntlets were devastating as direct weapons, but they were also plenty capable of destroying builds. This is no longer the case. Doom's arcane gauntlets have trouble cracking wood, much less anything else. And while you have unlimited ammunition, the time spent hurling them at your target is time your enemy could just beam you in the brain pan with an AR over and over and over and over again. Now, Tony's gauntlets are even worse with structures, and while they're much easier to hit targets with because of their lock-on capability within a certain range and their faster level flight path, any sort of obstruction, builds, the thing Fortnite is known for better or worse, those gauntlets become effectively useless. Now, my opponent here dropped Tony's gear in favor of Dr. Doom's, and their reliance on it to try and knock down my structures would ultimately prove to be their undoing. They had a light machine gun in their loot pile down there. They had a number of better options, and they opted for this, which, as you can tell, is extremely ineffective. Perhaps, I would imagine, they were more familiar with how the gauntlets used to just tear through structures without any problems. Those days are over. Now, Thor's hammer, Doom's bomb, and Tony's chest repulsor, those all still do plenty of damage to structure, but they have those protracted cooldowns. So, my builds are clumsy, which, if you've been paying attention, should come as no surprise. It's the first time I've run a solo match in a long time with mouse and keyboard. Now, I realized they were creeping up behind me, so I just closed the hatch on them. They've got a shotgun, too. But yet they just keep running the gauntlet. They're not hitting anything. And you could see there, too, they were trying the whole circle strafe bunny hop thing. The infuriating circle strafe bunny hop thing. It just worked for me better than it did for them. And they had a legendary Stark Industries energy rifle, yet I do not understand their loot choice here. What were they actually thinking? I mean, shotgun's smart. Sure, but there's an LMG in there. There's a legendary combat shotgun. There's Tony's beam. I mean, they sort of came at me with probably the worst equipment that they probably could have. But this ties into the point I've made again of skill-based matchmaking either being altogether removed or entirely rebalanced with an improved algorithm, because while I wouldn't say I made the same mistakes that this player did, I could definitely see that the skill level is comparable. Now, dropping the gauntlets in retrospect, at the time I was like, why would they drop Doom's arcane gauntlets, or why would they drop Tony's repulsors for Doom's gauntlets? But having used the repulsors now, the gauntlets are definitely the better choice. Like, this long, floaty flight time just makes you an easy target. You deal less damage to players and structures. The gauntlets are just better, but that still doesn't explain why leave, you know, the Unibeam. Why leave the LMG? Like, I don't know what else they were packing here. They had a submachine gun, minis, Doom's gauntlets, a pump shotgun, and then no building here, which is also a little interesting. The only thing I can think of is that they probably, and then they actually interrupt a mini usage there, which might have saved them in the end. Like, were they expecting me to go much more aggressive there? I was thinking about dropping the hammer on them again, but I wasn't just going to dive down the hill. That would have been a recipe for disaster. The one time earlier in this match I did get close to them, it almost ended badly for me, because if they had edited what they threw in front of me, I would have been instantly dead. Well, we're not quite at the end yet, but, you know, I don't leave a lot of back time in these videos to do my full outro, so thank you all so much for watching. I don't know why my Fortnite videos do so well, and I'll be honest and state that I don't like that my Fortnite videos do so well. I make content that is far more informative than this, although this is a bit unlike my usual Fortnite videos in that I actually covered my transition from controller to mouse and keyboard. Some balancing tweaks in the game that you might want to know about. But, in any case, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe and watch other videos that I've made. I hope you're all staying happy and healthy out there in the big scary world today, and as always, fare thee well.